A woman that has everything, if she meets the wrong man, it can make her feel poor. And it's not because he's not at her level as far as the material world, but because he's not at her level energetically. So what does that actually look like? Well, I'm picturing a pyramid and a story that an acquaintance of mine told me about how he was dating a doctor. He had met her at his work because he worked in HR, and they started dating. Pretty soon he realized that she was very, very busy. Before she had ever met him, she just was always planning different trips and away from town a lot, because when she wasn't working, she was enjoying life. She was going on adventures with her friends. She was taking herself all these amazing places. She loved to travel. So it didn't take long before he started wanting more of her time. And that's understandable. You get closer and want to spend more time together. He's wanting to be in a serious relationship with her. But she already had all of this time blocked off when she was going to be away, and she wasn't going to change her plans. And, he works in HR. He had a nice home, nice car, and all these sort of things, but he wasn't at her level financially. So it wasn't going to work for him to take time off work and try to go on these fabulous vacations all the time. It just wasn't in the cards. And so if we picture a pyramid, we could say at the top of the pyramid would be the man that has everything going on, so he could actually be there for those vacations, or at least show up and show her, like, okay, let's do a weekend here. And they would live this amazing jet-setting life together. Or you could be like this acquaintance of mine. It just became a lot of complaining about how she never has enough time for him, and maybe she should cancel some of her trips. And because if she really cares about their relationship, then she would let go of some of these plans that she had made in the past, and she would stop making more plans, which was she kept making more plans and filling up her calendar into the future. Yeah, so lots of complaints, lots of frustration from his side. So that's the bottom of the pyramid. So negative. And it's funny because I think we're all sort of used to men not being around, not showing up, not putting like a lot of energy into the relationship. We're not usually hearing it from the other side. So when I was sitting there listening to him, I was just like, wow, I've heard this before, but this is just not usually from this side of the tracks, or this side of the genders. So it was pretty interesting to me. And I started thinking to myself, wow, she's pretty smart, because she has him chasing her. And I don't know if that was on purpose or it's just how things worked out. But yeah, he wanted more of her time, and was feeling like, if we're going to be in a real relationship, then she should put these things on the back burner, or just like let go of them, because I can't afford to be there and accompany her. So maybe she should start scaling back. Or not maybe, like I want her to start scaling back. Well, so that's the pyramid. But what about the middle? To me, if a man is like this acquaintance of mine and can't afford to go on these fabulous vacations, then whenever he does have time with her, whenever like she comes back, then he can enjoy looking at the pictures, sharing her stories, and encouraging her, and being happy for her, and being happy about seeing her, and ecstatic about just supporting her love of adventure and travel, right? To me, that is being energetically on that same page, on that same level. Maybe he doesn't have the bank account, but who does? Not everyone can be a doctor. But if you do have it all going on, to me, this doctor, she was amazing. She was so smart because she didn't give up her lifestyle for someone, especially someone who was showing her that, yeah, this person's not going to be working out long term because he's too negative. But then the clincher was the story he had about when she went to buy tires for her car. He was so exasperated because, heaven forbid, she bought the most expensive tires that she could find. And he thought this was the worst thing ever. Now, clearly, she cared about her safety. She wanted the best, and she could afford it. So she bought the tires she wanted. Once again, if we're looking at the pyramid, the bottom level, complaining, these are old tapes around, whether or not we should be frugal with our money or not. How should we be spending our money? And clearly, he had some limiting beliefs. But if you're at the top of the pyramid, your response is going to be immediately, oh, you go girl, you got those tires because clearly they were the best, so no brainer, and you care about your safety. And you want to feel safe on the road. Now let's say more middle of the pyramid. Then if he still has some limiting beliefs or the question comes up, well, why the most expensive tires? Then it's going to be more on the level of a question. So, oh, what made you want to get those specific tires? There's going to be curiosity there. Not like an immediate judgment on why those tires, right? So if you are the person that has the career, the lifestyle that you want, you're living your best life, then the best thing you could do for yourself is just try to figure out where someone is early on that pyramid when it comes to abundance. Because if that person is supportive and they're right there with you, then you know that it's very possible, even if they're not at the financial level you're at, the material level that you're at, that energetically they are supportive. They have that ability to actually embrace everything that you are instead of impose limiting beliefs and try to hold you back. And the easiest way to do that is, especially that first date, second date, third date, after the date, just give yourself some moments to try to get a sense of how they responded to different issues around what we can allow ourselves to enjoy, what we can allow ourselves to welcome into our lives, and more so what it is that we allow others to welcome into their lives. And that could be done with just stories around other people and the way that they're living their lives and how they respond to that. Is it with criticisms and, maybe they should have held back here, maybe they should have held back there, or is it an encouragement, an encouraging voice? Because if someone's holding back themselves, they're probably going to want to hold you back in a relationship as well. And that translates to, even if someone's not at your level materially, if they can accept and encourage your lifestyle and not be threatened by it, then this, is very promising for a relationship to actually have the ability to stand the test of time. And I think this is so important because in the West, there's a lot of conditioning around men having to be the breadwinner or men having to have a higher income than the women that they're in relationships with. But that's not always possible. And so rather than necessarily looking for someone that's at that same material level, if you're open to a difference, then to me, The more important question is whether or not you're at that same level energetically. Because if you are, then that person's going to celebrate all of your wins, and the abundance that you're able to hold is not going to be emasculating to them or something that makes them feel threatened. Instead, when they see you in abundance, they are going to applaud that. It's only going to make them happier, and they're going to be able to show that in a way that makes you feel good around them. Now, you can always find out very quickly whether or not someone might be in a very responsive energy towards you just through the astrology. That's what I specialize in, because that's what it really takes to even start to have an abundance mindset with the person that you're with. Because if we start a relationship from a place where that energy of going towards new relationships is sort of shut down, then that means that when we do try to commit, that something feels off about it. And we can see this when we're dating someone, because there tends to be small tells, sort of ways to know that the person is like not all in, or if they are actually feeling very much engaged and ready to go forward in a very real way.